On today's episode, my friend, you are in for a treat. Not only do we have audio, we also have video of my interview with the CEO of GenetiQ, GenetiQ. Why IQ? Because they make you smarter. ERP system. So Justin Lawless is their CEO. He's part of a family business. He has worked his way through every step of the organization over the last 30 years. His first job was working for a builder merchant. What do we call that here in the United States? A lumber dealer, and then started in Ireland. Then the software went to the UK, Australia, New Zealand, and now in the United States of America. Appreciate him making time, coming all the way over for this. As we dive into sales, we talk about leadership, we talk about cultural intelligence, and of course, we're talking about artificial intelligence and how we as leaders in our space can think about it differently to ultimately help builders build more effectively. Without further ado, here is Mr. Justin Lawless. Hey there, friend. Welcome back to the Craft of LBM Sales podcast, where we help lumber and building materials sales professionals at the dealer, distribution, and manufacturing level deliver more value first to help your clients make more profit. I'm thrilled to be here on location here in Dallas with someone who's not remotely close to anywhere from Dallas, Mr. Justin Lawless of GenetiQ Software. Thrilled you're here.
Delighted to be here, Bradley.
All right.
Delighted.
I don't think this is coming in too hot, but
Okay.
you've traveled a long way. I want to ask this question first because this is top of mind. It feels like ERP systems have been the one aspect of our business that people have loved to hate for a long time. Why did it take so long for someone to rethink how we can interact with people in our business? And is there something different about our timing now that makes that more likely or more easy to execute?
Great question. Good starting point. Somebody once wrote an article that said the only companies disliked more than ERP were tobacco companies. So, I'm living in this industry. That's hard to hear. We're well used to it. What's different about now, ERP has traditionally notoriously been known as the time to value. Mm-hmm. So from when you even think about changing ERP, that can take 12, 18 months to make a decision on it, going through the beauty parades, the demos, all that stuff, and deciphering what actually the business really wants. So that in itself takes quite a long time. Then you start your project and you then realize that actually this isn't just a technology project, it's a full business project. It reaches into every part of the business. Well, certainly good ERPs should do that. So I guess the time to value has always been a long time. So people were less likely to do it. Nobody ever really wakes up in the morning and gets really excited and says, let's change ERP. It just doesn't happen.
Correct.
So there's got to be a driving factor to do that. And sometimes it's market. During COVID, we saw that it was, a significant rush towards e-commerce or contactless deliveries and things like that. So I think there's a difference now again, because we're starting to see more and more AI come into the space, and people are trying to leverage it the best way they possibly can. And without having a strong foundation in an ERP, which organizes the data,
right,
it's more difficult to leverage that value. So I think, time to value is still there, that long time to value, but actually the lifetime value then thereafter is far greater than it's ever been.
Well, in talking to you with the microphones off and just getting an understanding of your world, the more you shared insights with me, the more I realized how similar it is to what we do, which is largely it's change management. It's understanding the people factors of power and status, to some degree money. And I started realizing all of those things were applied. If I forced you, Justin, into determining, we've got two buckets. We have the data, the tech bucket.
Yep.
And you have like the human factor bucket.
Sure.
What percentage of attention, energy, stress, I don't know, how much would go in the data and technology bucket versus human factors? Because I'm thinking as much about you and your team, as well as many of our clients who are somewhere on their journey of a conversion or anticipating one in the future. And I'm not sure I've heard it really articulated by them about how much of just change management 101 this is. So if I forced you into one of those two buckets, how much would go into the data tech versus the human factor?
Surprisingly, I think it's Sorry, it doesn't surprise me, but it's more in the human bucket than it is in the technology bucket. The technology is really, really important. It's got to be open. It's got to be, it's got to serve you for many, many years to come. Short anecdote: I met one of my favorite authors, a guy called Charles Handy, a number of years ago. I was getting to sign a book, and the motto was, okay, you give him the book and you give him your business card, and then he writes something in the book, and that's it done, But Charles unfortunately passed away 2 years ago. He's in his late 80s or maybe early 90s when he passed. I really loved how he wrote. I loved how he thought about business. When I met him, I gave him my card and he said, Justin Lawless, software company. Okay, so you're a consulting firm. And of course, me, being a bit slow, I was kind of going, no, we're a software company. And he looked at me knowingly and went, I see. And then he signed my book, and then, and only later on I was driving home, and it dawned on me. I was like, he's actually right. We're ultimately a consulting firm that uses technology to solve a customer's problem. That's really what happens. Mm-hmm. And actually it was one of the reasons that we kind of really leaned into a mission statement that says we want to be the most people-centric company in our industry, which is unusual for a technology company. I mean, the thing to do right now if you're a tech company is to get rid of all the people and use AI, and that's not really how this thing works.
When you said the data technology, I'm paraphrasing, clarify for me, you said it's important that it's open. What do you mean by that?
So typically you're looking at two different kind of types of technology. You're talking about an open tech stack or one that's really, really closed. So an open tech stack is usually open to third-party integrations. You've got strong APIs.
Okay.
We're talking about, in the time of AI, you're talking about MCP servers as well. So being able to interact with your ERP with a tool like Claude or ChatGPT. So that's what I mean by open systems. Whereas closed systems tend to be, they want to own your data. They want to keep the silos around it. They want to have all these moats around the system. And what that forces then is activities to happen in third-party systems that aren't connected. And the whole purpose of having an ERP is to make sure that, finance is connected to operations and CRM and mobile and all those things. So, an ERP company might not necessarily have the best of breed of an e-commerce platform or a mobile platform. So you got to be willing to let your customer, plug things in that makes more sense for them. So that's the difference, I guess, between an open and a closed system.
Yes or no? Those are the only two possible answers, Justin. Okay. Do you know what the Dunning-Kruger effect is?
I do.
Okay.
I know a lot of people who suffer from it enormously.
I do.
I do
very
too,
much so.
Yeah.
That's the reason I know what it is. Somebody pointed out to me, and I'm like, "What is that?" I figured you would, based on our previous conversations. Could you maybe explain for our audience who doesn't know what the Dunning-Kruger effect is, and take that any way you want when it comes to artificial intelligence?
People who are less experienced in something overestimate their ability to do something.
Yeah.
And the people who know about it underestimate their ability to do it. So does that make sense? Like,
yeah.
I guess if you start a sentence with the word surely, so surely I could land this plane. If something happens to the pilot, surely I could get up there.
Yes.
And, someone could talk me down through landing that plane. People think like that, but
yes.
So I think that's probably a good example of Dunning-Kruger.
I'll tell you what happens for me is I'll hear of something, it's a person or it's some historical event or it's AI or it's Claude co-work. I read a few articles, maybe I go nuts and I buy a book and I read it and I'm like, all right. And then I start experimenting with it and I'll say, Justin, if I may, let me explain to you the potential ramifications of artificial intelligence and AGI, and I'm like, anyone who's been in that field for any length of time has a completely different respect for what they don't know, which is 1,000 times what I know. And the reason that I bring that up now is I think overall it's a good thing for people experimenting, but I do feel we have some friends, we have some clients who have gotten in and started connecting dots on some of this artificial intelligence.
Yep.
I think that is exciting. And I think they've seen some real results. And well, I'll just ask the question. I've had people say, it's like, why would I go and change ERP systems with artificial intelligence right around the corner? I'll just build my own ERP. And my immediate thought is the Dunning-Kruger effect. Let's think of the ramifications. I don't care whether you're running a $10 million business or 50 or 100 or 500 million, but let's think about the unintended consequences that might be buried in here. Just curious, if somebody gave you that understanding, yes, you have a bias, but I also think you have a far greater understanding of the technology, its capabilities, its limits, and where it's going than other people. So I don't know, take that anywhere you want if folks listening are thinking about that.
I mean, I'd never be so foolish as to say that this isn't a real threat to our industry at some point in the future. Do I think we're there yet? I don't. When you see AI coming in, you think, well, we're never going to need like an ERP ever again. People would also said the same thing about Wi-Fi. Well, we now have Wi-Fi. Why do we need cables? But, the world runs on cables. The internet runs under the ground in cables. So that base technology is always there. The other stuff is just that bit of magic on top. I guess linking it back to the Dunning-Kruger thing, perfect example, Anthropic, probably the one that's most popular at the moment, gaining the most amount of share. They just recently installed an ERP. So somebody thinking that they're going to build an ERP like that, I mean, I'm absolutely encourage experimentation. I absolutely do. Would I do it with ERP right now? I probably wouldn't. I mean, we use lots of AI tooling across our business. We'd be foolish not to. But to build a core application like that, a monolithic thing like ERP, it's just there's too many things connected to it. It's a deep technical thing. I go back to the piece about it all being about people, and then you got to look at your core competency. I mean, what makes you special? We've about 15 or 1,600 companies that rely on us every single day to run their businesses. This grey hair didn't come cheap.
It was well earned.
It was well earned. So, I think, look, absolutely, AI and building tools around an open ERP system is a fantastic idea to do it. Whether or not I would build an ERP with that, I don't know. And then who supports it in the future? I mean, are you locked into somebody? Then you have to think about all the things that surround that, all the supporting services and things that go with it as well. So, and typically we're now on our 4th generation ERP. So we've been through MS-DOS, we've been through Win32 applications, .NET, and full cloud and browser. So all the things that we picked up along the way are things that you base that on. And experience is such an important thing in this space. And there's no compression algorithm for experience. That's something that one of my colleagues has said quite a few times, and he's absolutely right. He nailed it with that statement. And you need that experience as well to apply to the underlying tech, organizing the data in the background, understanding what a semantic layer is for AI to leverage it. So there's lots of things that one might take for granted that you don't necessarily have. But experimentation with AI, absolutely, I love it. But as for building an ERP that's going to run your business, I'm less kind of bullish on.
I think maybe the contrast here is fascinating too. If we look out here at ACM's Mill Workshop and them talking about the challenge of bringing this next generation of craftsmen in and how they have to teach them and all that goes with it. What they're talking about is this combination of experience and expertise and how we pass it from one generation to the other and where that knowledge is retained to be experts in what we do. Why would we look at something as complex as artificial intelligence and think it applies here with a tree that was chopped down, but not over here with code,
Yeah.
Now, again, I look at stuff out here and I'm like, that's completely baffles me. I don't know how they do what they do here, but I have some understanding. I think the same thing with computers and that I kind of lean into, but maybe we'll transition here a little bit. A big percentage of our audience, our passion, these are sales leaders. These are sales managers, sales reps.
Yep.
And if I flash back to, my early days on the building side, what we recognized were the sales professionals who had an understanding of what we were trying to do on the building side. The more time they could spend in our environment, in the field, observing the work that's being done, connect with the trim carpenter and the framer and being around to solve problems, the more teamwork there was and things got done faster. My question here is how far with AI and mobility and understanding kind of your product, how far away is it where we could have a salesperson who spends the majority of his time in the field, on the job, seeing the work that's being done, versus what we have a lot of times is you have salespeople, and I'm sure you know this, where they have to go back to put in their orders, and once they're in the office, they get sucked into the orders, or they go home, they have dinner, they put the kids to bed, and then they go back downstairs in the basement and work for another 3 hours doing quotes and orders because they can't do them on site. This is the longest, worst rambling question I've ever given anyone on the podcast. So congratulations, Justin. My question to you is, any idea how close we are to getting some of this capability so sales reps could solve more problems, execute their job faster in the field?
I'm always nervous about giving an answer to a question like this, okay? Because
it's such a long,
no, it's
unwieldy
not. It's
question.
not because it's a long rambling question, but you made a very good point there. The thing that makes me nervous about this is that while CRM is slightly different, but it is a component part of ERP. I'm conscious that it's people like me and maybe some back office people as well who have made people's jobs on the road more difficult because you're asking them to fill in information and they're going, oh no, the tech guys are telling us to do more stuff and to type this in and type that in and we're recording all this stuff. So a lot of it becomes sometimes useless. You're forcing people to do all that work. Mm-hmm. So I think that the question I ask, and I think this seems to be universal, and the question I ask people, which I think has the most meaning or gives you the most bang for your buck when you're really trying to get to the nub of the problem, is if I say to somebody, an outside salesperson, and say like, okay, you've left the house, you're 10 minutes down the road, and you realize you've forgotten something. Mm-hmm. Okay, what are the things that you will go back for? Okay, and inevitably it's two things. Notepad number one, cell phone number two. They're the two things. And throughout the years of there being requirements for people to feed CRM systems with, innocuous notes in some cases, technology people like me would like to say, oh, hopefully it's their laptop. Mm-hmm. It's never their laptop. It's never their, if somebody wants to call them and if they want to take some notes. They're the two things that they want to go for. So, we've been working with some of our customers and trialing some things with them because we want to make their lives easier. And taking those two things into account, of course there are digital notepads out there, and of course they're all nice. I have a digital notepad. I rarely use it, but it's the phone that I'm always going back for.
Right.
So we're trying to think about how we have this. So we're trying this at the moment with some customers that we have a voice agent that ultimately, at the end of the day, your outside salespeople can call this voice agent, and it's very, very responsive. It talks to our MCP layer. You can ask questions about a customer. You can ask questions about the status of an order, inventory in stock, all those things you can ask this agent and have proper conversations with it. But actually, now we're looking at, okay, well, let's get the agent to call each of the outside sales reps and say, how was your day today? And actually, when you see this stuff and how quickly it works and how responsive the agent actually is, the voice agent is, it's actually really, really impressive. And I think that's a good way to do it because people in their cars, happy to take a phone call, recount their days. And I think that we're at a point where about 10, 12 years ago, you may remember the time pre-fully integrated e-commerce. You used to have, in most ERPs, you'd have a thing called web orders or whatever it was called back in the day. And ultimately what it was is orders received in from a website that was converted into a pre-order in the system that needed a human to review it, okay? Mm-hmm. Now, we're well past that now with REST APIs and fully integrated e-commerce. But I think we're there now again with AI. So what you're looking at doing then is having pre-orders or pre-proposals sitting in the system that you want a human to review. So now you could extend that technology to your customers. Do you want your customers speaking to an agent? Maybe you don't, okay? But for example, that agent might take an order and say, okay, I'm going to listen to my outside sales rep, putting on a pre-order for this customer for these goods. So what you end up doing then is you create this pre-order in your system. Mm-hmm. You show the human in the loop back at the office, this is the voice recording so they can play it back. Here's the text that we assumed from the voice system. And as a result of that, here are the properties that we pulled from the ERP system. This customer, these products for this particular location. And you get a human that looks through it and says yay or nay, approves it, and the system continues to learn. So I think that's something that, now I'm probably sharing some of our roadmap secrets here, but that's something that we're working on. And the thing about it is that AI has to be, it has to be accurate when it comes into ERP. It can't be, you're always trading off convenience with accuracy, and you got to make sure that the stuff going in there is correct. So I think that's potentially a time saver for people. Adding notes onto the CRM as well is also easy to do in that scenario too. So I think thumbing things into a phone is just not a good experience for people out in the road. You know, I think there's better ways of doing it. So I had a long rambling answer to your long rambling question, Rodney.
Love it. Well, and whenever I still hear like agentic AI, I'm still like, who's the agent? What is it? So to make sure I'm clear on this, the idea would be I could just pick up the phone and just like talk, and there'd be an audible voice there that would be AI that'd be capturing this, pulling it into a transcript and putting it into an order. The thing I hadn't thought about was I get a call at 4:30. I spent the last 2 hours with Justin, and it says, hey, I see you're on the road now. It knows GPS maybe because I'm driving. And it says, hey, how did the meeting go? Any new insights? Any questions? Any objections come up? And I'm rambling, right? It's top of mind, and it's something I can do while I'm driving. That's what you're referring to as well, right?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
that's it. I mean, I think that's that time that you can kind of give back and give to a system while you're on the road.
Yeah.
So it's look, all these things are possibilities. It's about making sure that they add value and that that they work for companies. That's really it.
What may be the most surprising or insightful thing you've learned about selling as you've changed cultures? And as a typical American, I'm probably glossing over all the cultural differences. I kind of group all of Europe as kind of the same people that might speak a different language. You got the Isle of Man. I know that's a special place. The Irish. I'm assuming the Scottish are up there somewhere. Anyway, what have you learned about coming to countries like Texas and the United States of America that might have, there's a joke in there, that sales might be a little bit different, that you've picked up on a nuance that might be interesting to hear?
There's probably more similar than different.
Okay.
I mean, I guess coming to the US, we had I had a particular expectation based on, you know, speaking about Dallas, I grew up watching Dallas and Quincy and all these shows, you know. We only had two channels on TV back in Ireland, you know, and it was mostly stuff coming from the US, you know. So so I grew up on all that kind of thing. So I kind of expected it to be different than it actually is. The LBM world here, full of good people, as it is back home, spending their own money, investing their own time, and I think that's the most the most similar things that you can expect. And I wasn't really expecting that arriving in here.
Okay.
Again, just based on TV culture and you know, that pop culture stuff that we get fed. So I think it's more similar than dissimilar. Maybe tactics are slightly differently. Maybe there's a slightly more aggressive sales tactic in the US that probably doesn't sit as, you know, it doesn't sit naturally with me.
Okay.
I don't know. We always think about, look, if we can't do a really, really good job for you, if we can't walk away leaving a lot of value here and continuously add value over the lifetime of our relationship, it's like, we're probably not a good fit, you know? So so that's probably a little bit different, maybe, but again, we're so fresh here, very committed to the market, really like working with the people that we met in this space. Yeah, so I think it's more of the same as opposed to difference.
Okay. Any non-obvious insight that you apply to sales based upon your passion for guitars?
My passion for guitars. Wow. I'm not even sure if I understand the question.
On the Craft of LBM Sales podcast. We do.
Or you see, when I come to a place like Dallas, I'm thinking like, oh my, I have to go and find a guitar shop and just look at them and touch them and feel them. Spend a bit of time in Nashville. I'm going to Philadelphia, and there's the famous Martin guitar factory is in Philadelphia as well, just outside Philadelphia.
Okay.
So in Pennsylvania. So I'd love to make a trip there someday. So now I forgot the question, Bradley. You've got me. You see, once I hear guitar, I'm off on a tangent.
Already.
That's it.
Just
I'm gone.
Flip overboard at
me.
the word guitar. Didn't see it coming. Any sort of principle or thing you've learned playing guitars that you apply to leadership, to salesmanship, to anything along those lines in business?
That is a very interesting question. I think when you look at rock bands, you know, there's always a leader there somewhere, you know, and I like to see the leadership of a rock band. Like, I think Tom Petty's a great band leader. Somebody who, like, I think Danny Carey too, a great band leader as well, sitting at the back on the drums. But I think of Malcolm Young from AC/DC. I'm sure you've heard of those guys.
Yeah.
You know, he was the quiet brother who sat in the back. Nobody really knew. He was just sitting there playing the guitar, but he was the real drive behind the band. So, you know, that leadership thing is in bands as well that I'm not sure everybody necessarily gets, you know. And there's lots of famous kind of, you know, differences in leaders and bosses. You know, I remember Prince being a real boss when it came to his band, and Van Morrison as well. But I think Prince is famous for you know, playing in the middle of a show, and if you know, the guitar player, the keyboard player made a mistake, he'd lean over and say, "That's a $5,000 fine for that mistake." You know, so these guys, you know, I guess that's the boss side of it, and then you've got the leader side of it as well, who's just driving it from the back. But that's a really interesting question, Randy. Oh, you made me think there.
All right, well, every now and then,
that's
what we try to do in this podcast. Anyway, Justin, I appreciate you making time and excited what you guys are doing. And you guys are obviously the first and only ERP that we've ever partnered with. And I'll get the question like, hey, why did you guys start doing this? The simple answer is, for the better part of my 15-year career, trying to bridge the two passions of those who are building from those who are trying to get the materials to help them do that, and that collaboration, and coming from a sales perspective, getting that data and trying to look from an analytics perspective before dealing with the messy and amazing and fun part of dealing with human beings and all their irrationality and tricks and amazingness. Just getting that information has been so hard. And the contrast of what you guys are doing, am I biased? I am. However, love what you guys are doing. Excited you guys are here in the States.
Thanks,
and I think this timing with the sea change that's happening with artificial intelligence couldn't all come at a better time. So we could all just stop comparing ERPs to tobacco companies. I think that's something we all want. So
I'm going to regret telling you that story, aren't
so anyway, thanks for making time. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it, Bradley. Thank you very much.